We are off. Welcome to the Addictively Speaking podcast. I'm James Kashnowski, and I have a guest today, an old friend of mine from way back in the day. Her name is Eva, and we are going to share your story. We're gonna talk. We're gonna just see what's going on, what's happening.
Sounds like a plan.
How
I
are
like.
you?
You've picked up an accent, my friend.
I have, yeah, yeah. Some people have told me that.
I
It's the
like it.
fact that I live in the
I
United
like it.
Kingdom now.
I like it a lot.
Is it better than like a Schuylkill County accent, you would say?
Schuylkill County doesn't sound as educated as the United Kingdom does. So
Yeah, yeah. That I mean, at least I sound smarter. I'm glad
sure,
that
we'll go
going
with
for you.
that. We'll go with
Okay,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, so, so let's see. Where should we start? So, first of all, you're in recovery now, or you
Hmm.
struggled with addiction.
Yes,
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about your addiction. When did it start?
I
What
think
what was it?
from
What was the addiction to?
so I think from an early age, I've always had an addictive personality. So being driven to alcohol, being in social circles where, you would go to bush parties and things to that effect, and it was always alcohol there. I grew up in a family where we had toasts on holidays, and the kids would get little champagne glasses. So it never really seemed like an issue until it became
Right,
an issue. Um,
right, yeah.
yeah, I guess my early teens was when it got the worst, right before I had my son. And then we had him. But before that, I was introduced to cocaine at 19. And
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So I lived a bit of a destructive lifestyle back then and didn't exactly surround myself with the people, places, and things that would be healthy for me. So, yeah, I guess in my early 20s is when it got a little rougher. And then it just
Okay.
progressed over time.
Right, right, and that seems to be the case with a lot of people with addiction is that it starts when you're younger and you kinda don't see the addictive patterns that you have or the person you can't look and see the addictive personality or, like, the things that you do that are different than other people, like, I know for me, it was like a moderation thing. I couldn't have just a few drinks, I had to go
Mhm,
completely to the dark side, right?
mhm.
And I never noticed that until in recovery, where I look back and said, "Shit, I
Yep.
was like that my entire life, and I never realized it," you know?
Didn't Yep, didn't know what a blackout was until someone said, "Oh, by the way, that time where you couldn't pick yourself up for, a couple days, yeah, that's a blackout." I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
I've done that to myself. Okay." Like the
yeah,
character.
and then when people go, "That's not normal. No, people don't normally black out like that," and I was
No.
like, "Oh, I've done that a lot. Yeah, yeah."
It
Scary,
almost
isn't it,
seems
that, like,
habitual.
people don't
Yeah,
experience that, and then you're just like, "That's normal. That's me on a Thursday,"
right.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Alright, so it was in your teens, in your 19, you're introduced to cocaine. Did
Right.
that become a problem? Did that become something that obviously, because gateways and things like that, you kinda go
Yeah.
into other drugs and other
Yeah.
things?
For a long time, it was something that I just kind of dabbled with. I had my son at 21. So then it was more of just me being a bit of a wino where I would just drink on the weekends, but I would drink to the point of like a hangover.
Mm,
So, because, at that time, I either had my mother to take care of him or, in my marriage, I had my ex-husband at that time to, keep an eye on him. So I didn't notice that I wasn't really being mother of the year because I wasn't present. And if I was
right.
present, I usually had alcohol of some sort on me or with me.
Did you ever, have you ever, like, look back and, like, yeah, I mean, your recovery and think, like, what are the things that made you do those kind of things? Like,
Oh,
is there
absolutely.
some type of self-medication, or was it some type of trauma in your life that you were trying to
Mhm.
escape from, like things
I
of
think,
that
yep.
nature. I mean,
No, I definitely think that's a lot of it. In the very beginning, when it, like I said, when it came to my family, I almost feel like there was that need to always be the best. And so wanting to be socially accepted in every aspect. As I got older, my friends drank, so I would drink. People would go out and I would want to be included, so I would go out with them. But looking back on the reasons why, I think it was always self-seeking and a little bit of self-pity, that poor me, you don't understand. I have this problem, I have that problem, you don't know my drama. And I would just drink it away. I think I've come to the conclusion in my alcoholism and my addiction that it was more to numb the pain from
right,
whatever was going on in that time.
right. So it was generally anything that was causing you angst or anxiety or pressure,
Yeah.
you would drink to escape, just the escape of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for a point in my addiction, the same thing. I was drinking to get away from all the problems, but all the problems were because I was drinking, and it was like this really
Right.
bad cycle of things that were I was causing myself a lot of self-harm, and then I
Hmm.
would blame other stuff, but it was actually the alcohol that was causing me all the shit, but I
Hmm.
would just continue to drink because I'd forget about it when you're that
Right.
fucked up. I mean, where there's nothing to remember, is there? You
And
know? Wake up with
when
less
you're
money and feeling like
exactly,
shit.
yes, and not typically remembering what you did the day before at all,
Yeah,
and having
yeah,
absolutely no motivation to do anything the day after because your body is that
no,
wrecked.
yeah, except lay in bed and just be left completely the fuck alone because
Mhm.
you can't deal.
I don't miss that, Jim. I don't miss that feeling of being completely useless, and, like, because I live with fibromyalgia, so my body's on overdrive all the time. So
Yeah,
alcohol constricts our blood vessels. You already know what that does to the body. So imagine
yeah, it's
putting
gonna cause
myself
you a
in that.
lot more.
Yeah, so imagine putting myself in that constant state. It's fucking insanity. It's insanity to do the same thing over and over, knowing that it causes you pain and doing it regardless. It's
Yeah,
insanity.
knowing that it's gonna be bad and
Yes.
continuing to do it. Yeah, it's the
Mhm.
absolute definition of it. It's just
Yeah.
insane to do something like that to yourself, but you did. Obviously, you did, and you did it for a while. Um, did it have any effects on your family and your personal life? Like, what were the effects?
Yeah. So, my ex-husband was actually in recovery when we met. So, he didn't drink, still doesn't drink. He's almost 18 years sober. I digress. What that did though was put us in a rough frame of a relationship. There was a time where I would be able to go out and have a drink or two with dinner, and that was fine. But then I started keeping bottles of wine in the refrigerator, and I would put a bottle away on a Tuesday. Like, it would just be one of those things where it wasn't a social habit anymore. I was taking koozies full of wine to soccer games. Like, that's the way that I was living back then. So yeah, did it have an
Right.
impact? Most definitely. Did I think it did? No, because I was mother of the
No.
year. I was showing up at soccer games, baseball, wrestling tournaments, you name it. Like, I was golden. And so I thought, not so much.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is you never see it when you're in it because
Hmm.
you're in it, you're living it. It's
Right.
when you look back and you have like a lot of clarity in your life where you can kind of look back and say,
Yeah.
that was probably not the best choice. I mean, I used to pregame before going to like Miller's house, and
Yeah.
I would drink like a half a bottle of Captain Morgan's, and then I'd get in the car and drive to Minersville.
Oh,
Right? Like, and I did it, like, every weekend, like, d
right?
every weekend, which was a horrible, horrible decision. I
Mhm.
mean, I was probably pretty drunk when I left. I mean, I remember getting showers and being so drunk thinking, "I'm gonna fall the fuck over in the shower. I'm really fucked up right now."
Oh,
And then I'd
Lord.
get dressed, and
Go
I'd
and
grab
get
a
even
I'd
more
grab a
prepared.
big, I had a big, like plastic cup that I got from like I think it was like Dorney Park or some shit. It was huge,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And I would just dump all the rum into it. And I take it and I put it in the car. I just on the way to Miller's house, right? And that's how I started the night. That was at like 7 o'clock.
Oh Lord. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
well, it got to the point at the end where I was having shower beers. So like
nice.
I would have a shift at like 4 o'clock and think, well, I can easily have a beer like 12 o'clock, take my shower, get settled, whatever I need to do before work, and I'll be fine. And that became a thing for a while. And then
Yeah.
I was in school, like I'm still in school, but I would
Mhm.
reward myself. So I would study and I'd have a beer, or I would take a test. And I mean, it didn't make a difference, what it was. I just always had an excuse to have a drink in my hand.
Right. Yeah. So well, we talked a little bit about like, did it affect your personal life? Is there anything like you could think of, like, were there any times where you thought like there was a problem, or did anybody ever tell you like, hey, you might have a problem or anything like that? Or like, because I know that for me, it was like people validated me by saying, oh, you don't, you just like to have a little fun. You just, sometimes you go a little crazy, Jim, you
Mhm.
don't think you have, I don't think you're an alcoholic. And it's like, oh,
Right. It was
okay.
when I first decided to stop drinking was when people were saying, "Well, I didn't realize you had a problem. I didn't know that there was something wrong." And I got a DUI, so
Ah,
that was my like deciding factor. Like they say, a nudge, a judge, or a grudge. At least that's what I've heard going in. So that was my like nudge right there. And I thought I was going to get sentenced to the rooms, which I didn't, but I digress. So personally, I think it's just a day by day type thing, looking at each situation and how, I would have dealt with it before as opposed to how I deal with it now. It's a lifestyle change. You know that.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, I often look to other people when I was contemplating getting sober, and then I would say, uh, I think I might have a problem, and then people would kind of just, they'd be like, "Oh, no, no, no," and then I'd be
Mhm.
like, "Yo, all right, well, if you don't think I do, then maybe I'm wrong,"
Right.
and I would kind of be a bit like, because it was kind of like that excuse to keep on the same road,
Yeah.
'cause somebody else would say that I was good, so if they didn't think there was an issue, then
You had
maybe
someone
I was
co-sign your
crazy.
bullshit. Yeah. That's what
Yeah,
it comes down to. Absolutely. And like I had friends that they were my drinking buddies and then they were
yeah,
still there when I got sober, but they like we would get together and they would have like a sober punch for me or something like that. And I would still go to the bar with them, but I would get like
mhm,
the virgin daiquiris and pina coladas and things like that. So in the beginning, it was like, oh, you're not drinking. Give me a cup of coffee and a coin and I'll be on my way. And
mhm.
then I had to actually get my head out of my ass and accept the fact that I had a problem that's bigger than me. And the only thing I can do to resolve that problem is to stay away from what triggers it.
Yeah, well, now speaking of triggers, what are some of the things that are your triggers? What are the things that trigger you to think about it or to
Right, right,
crave
right.
it?
Um, so I've really been blessed, honestly, that the compulsion to drink has been taken away, but the
Mm,
feeling to numb situations, that's not changed. How I go about numbing it is very different, whether I turn to
right,
prayer or I talk it out with my sponsor or my support group, whatever. But
right.
ultimately, I think that I don't know, Jim. I think it's just different for everybody. When you find your recovery and what works for you, I think that's
Yeah.
just yeah.
Because I know, like, there's always situations that, like, things in my life that come up, people's passing anniversaries and stuff like that. I still get a bit anxious, or I get
Yeah.
these feelings inside of me. I don't necessarily get triggered because I do stuff to, like, mitigate that, but I do
Yeah.
feel these things, inside of me that obviously, in recovery that it's like it's a battle, it's every day. There's
Mhm.
always something inside of you that is an addict. You're an addict.
Right.
It just is what
Absolutely.
it is, and, yeah, so you just kind of fight those little crazy things in your head that
Mhm.
are going
I
on and have to
it
deal with like I always thought about it like afterwards is like I'm coping with it in like I'm
Yes.
coping with it in real life. Like I'm coping with it as a normal person would deal with anything. And
Right.
I'm not drinking to numb it. I'm not
Mhm.
drinking to suppress it. So yeah, dealing with it now is a lot different than dealing with it then. But there are these things that come up that they mess with your head a little bit. They cause you
Absolutely.
a bit of anxiety and depression and shit like that.
Mhm. I think people, for me, people are a trigger. Right now being estranged from my family for the last few years and that being up in the air, my relationship with my son is very jaded. Um, Not knowing, I work as a teacher's assistant, not knowing
Mhm.
what the kiddos are going to be like each day, that's a completely different arena. Um, just my daily relationships, interacting with people on a regular basis. Can be anything can be a trigger. If I'm in the right spiritual beam, then I'm okay. But if I'm
Right,
frazzled in some way, shape, or form about it could be anything. I mean, anything could have me like on edge. Then I'm
right.
closer to a trigger than I would be if I'm at ease. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 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 absolutely. You spoke about your relationship with your son and you're estranged from your family. Did that have anything to do with your addiction, or is that just a separate issue altogether, or
So the more that I look back on our relationship and I think about how um I believe that I raised him with the best intentions, but as I said, there was always that veil of alcoholism, lying over that relationship. As he got
right,
older, he decided that he no longer wanted to be part of the life that I was creating for us. And my mother is very lackadaisical in her parenting and such. Um, so when it comes to alcohol in the family, I've been drinking for as long as I can remember. She would be the one to get my friends and I like Seagram's wine coolers and things to that effect. You know what I mean? Like be the cool mom.
you're the cool
So
mom. Yeah, yeah.
exactly the cool mom. So that, it stems from there. Things are getting a little better as time goes on, but I just believe that's God's plan. So whether it's me staying sober or it's them, coming to some sort of light, it's neither here nor there. But I do think that it definitely played a part in like how frazzled we are and how fractured we are. Sure.
Right. That's usually the case, isn't it, though, with like addiction and stuff like that, especially if people don't have the same, like you're getting clean and they're still doing the same things that they've done for years and they don't see a problem. So they don't, you admitting you have a problem is probably weird to them. And,
Hmm.
the whole, you know, they might think that you blame that, the whole thing. It could be a whole thing,
Right.
couldn't it?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. So, you talked about your spirituality and things of that nature. I personally have never been one for spirituality or God's plans or any of all that. But I know it's huge for people in recovery. And I think it's a great thing for people in recovery to have those things. So, do you want to talk about like your spirituality and stuff and like
Yeah, of
how that's helped
course.
you through recovery?
Absolutely. So, working through a program that is spiritual and not religious has really
Hmm.
benefited me because I grew up in the church, but that particular version of my life was very damning. It was very
Hmm.
judgmental and all of those sorts of things. Now it almost feels like, we say the God of your understanding. So it can be anything. It doesn't need to be the one that I grew up with.
Hmm.
The connection I have now is on a regular basis. I talk to my God just as you and I are talking. Like if something's going on, I'm like, Lord, I don't know what I'm doing. Help me through this shit. Like I just anything. I think what it comes down to is the ultimate surrender, knowing that there's something bigger and greater than me. And if a power greater than me created everyone in this world or everyone that I love and care about, then why not give that same power up to my life? I haven't been able to manage my shit right for the last 40 years. So why not let something bigger than me take care of that? You know what I mean? It's easier. It really is to have that surrender, to be like, yo, I don't want to do this right now. So I'm just going to let you take care of it. But believing in it. Believing in it is one thing, trusting in it is another. Because you can say that like you don't care about something, but to truly not care or to not give it that energy and that vibe is a completely different mind frame.
Yeah. That's amazing though. I mean, it's just a huge that must be like a huge weight lifted off because you're not you
Mhm.
oh, it's like you don't feel like you're dealing with stuff alone. You're dealing with you have God by your side
Yes.
or your God of
Yes.
understanding who is just
Right.
helping you. That's amazing. Yeah, that's a great tool to have in your recovery toolbox, I would say, is that,
Yes.
you can just let go of things and not let them consume you,
Mhm.
and I think that's amazing. And you were just talking about, you do a program. You do a 12-step or
Yeah, I'm in Alcoholics Anonymous. I know that we are anonymous, but yeah, it's a 12-step program that I work. So 2.5 years now. My sober date is August 20th, or excuse me, August 2nd of 2020.
Oh, amazing. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations on that. That's wonderful. 2
Thank you.
years, yeah.
Thank you for being an inspiration though, because you started.
I mean, I just I'm blessed. I'm thankful that I can be who I am and I get to do these things and I'm really happy that I can help other people, to find
Yeah.
recovery because I think it's been so huge in my life. It literally changed my entire life. It changed my
Mhm.
world. Like
Yes.
never in a million years did I think that I would be a father, that I would be in a job where I'm a manager, I'm in management, I can
Right.
hold a job. 1, I can keep a job. Um, I'm married. I have 2 beautiful children. I never thought in a million years that I could be in this place, and I just hope that, like, doing this podcast and sharing other I wanna share other people's stories because I want other people to see what I've been through and what you've been through and where we've got to, because that's
Yeah.
hugely important because if you can't see the end of the tunnel, you'll just never think that you can do it. And
I
it's
love
people
that
like
you
us that are gonna help people, like, we're gonna lead them to the end of that tunnel, by our
yeah.
experiences.
See, I love that you
So,
say about the tunnel because I've been using the analogy that I want to be the flashlight, not the batteries that power it, but just the light that comes from it. I
the
just want
light
to
that
be that.
shines from it, yeah.
Yes, I just want to be the beam where I can be like, listen, life can be shitty sometimes, but you can get through it. And you don't have to pick up a drink to do that.
Yeah, you
Because
don't have
for
to
me,
use
it was a shot
drugs, you
in
don't
the
have to
mirror.
do those things.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's a very different way of life now to put things in a perspective where you think about other people and acts of service and you live a life
Yeah,
of,
you're a little bit
yeah.
more gratitude and you're a little bit more gracious and
Yeah.
humble. Yeah,
Yes.
instead of being
Yeah.
so like, I get it, I'm still selfish, I still have those horrible addictive things about me, but I am more grateful and gracious, and I'm humble, and I have gratitude for the things that I have now, and I think that's a huge, huge part of my recovery is that, like, I felt like I did a lot of shitty things to a lot of people, to my family, to my friends, to myself, and I now feel like I'm out there, like, I'm just trying to balance that scale. I'm just trying to put enough good out there that kinda, makes up for all the shitty things I did. So,
Right.
I'm just trying to put as much good stuff out as I can, and hopefully, stories like yours and, a couple of the other people that I wanna have on will help, you know, boost that up and, yeah, change some people's lives, you know?
Yeah. I love that even though you're across the pond, we get a chance to chat. I've been thinking about this whole like all day. I love talking recovery and where I'm at and how I got here and just, things being so completely different now where I'm almost finished my associate's degree in applied science. I've been offered,
Nice.
right? I've been offered, God, just cross your fingers and say a prayer for the crazy redhead. I'm putting this out
Yeah,
all over the
absolutely.
internet now, but there's a position as an activities director at the one assisted living facility that, you know, God willing, with the background checks, that will be fine. I went through everything else and they like me and my drug screen's clean, of course. And so now we just got to wait on the background check and see if the DUI, what happens there. So big things are really happening on my end. And I think it's all because I've decided to live a sober and clean life.
Yeah, and you're working the program, you're doing the steps, and
Mhm.
you're being humble and gracious, and you're sharing your story. And you know what? The more good you put out there, the more good will come back to you. I believe in that. I've seen it happen myself. I've had a lot of good come back to me. I'll keep you in my thoughts. I'll keep my fingers crossed, and I'm sure you'll
Thanks.
get it. I'm sure you will.
Right on.
So in your recovery, like, what do you think was like the biggest moment, like that put you? So like a lot of people say like rock bottoms and stuff like that. Like, so was
Yeah.
your DUI that point where you were like,
Yeah.
shit's got to change?
That was it, man. I woke up Saturday morning and walked into my friend's house, who was my best friend at the time, and she gave me a white line and a white claw, and we were off to the races. And by 9 o'clock at night, I smashed into a parked car on a telephone pole and blew a .108 and was like, yeah, I stepped away from the car and was like, my insurance company is gonna kill me. Like that was my thought. Like that was my thought.
Yeah.
And then the following morning, and here's the thing, because I thought it was cool to check in at every bar that I was at that day, people
Oh,
saw that I was unfolding on this crazy bender, and it was just a matter of time before I like destroyed myself. And I did. And then the following day, I called my ex husband. As I said, he'd been in the rooms. He got me through my first 24, and I got a coin, and then I was a coin collector for the first 6 months. I went to a meeting a week for the first 6 months. I didn't think I needed more than that because I didn't think I had a problem. I thought I just needed to dry out for a little while. And if I stayed away
right.
from if I stayed away from the drugs, if I didn't put anything up my nose anymore, then I'd be fine. And then the we of the program came in, and I started to hear other people talk about their experience, and I realized, oh, wait a minute, I've done that. I've been there. Oh shit, this is my life too. Okay, maybe I do have a problem. And then 9 months in, I had like that came to believe moment where I realized that like my life had become unmanageable. I destroyed everything that I thought was tangible at that point, and I was just getting by. I was still in school, I still had a job, but everything outside looking in, I was a train wreck and something had to change. And so that was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a huge moment right there.
Yeah.
And those moments, those like, those moments of clarity, that moment where you kind of like you see it all, My
Mhm.
moment was um it was just after a New Year's Eve. I went out on New Year's Eve in Maryland at my buddy Matt's, and I got really, really, really drunk. Bad, real bad. Threw up all over his bathroom. My body was just like lifeless, like laying in a bathtub. They had to
Mm.
like pull me out and like clean me off, and put me to bed. Um, I couldn't do much of anything, and I we were supposed to go out to like a mall the next day, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't get up. I couldn't drink anything. I couldn't eat anything. I felt fucking horrible. Drove all the way home, 2-hour drive, threw up every like half hour on the way home.
Mm.
Made the
Mm.
drive that much longer. I had went with a friend and my girlfriend at the time. Um, was Alyssa. She had a little boy, Tyler, and I went home. And it was later so that was prelude to it. It's January 1st. I come into
Right.
January, still drinking. I get to like mid Jan, and I was at hers, and I drank a bottle of coconut rum. It was like a Wednesday night, by the way, like just random
Just
Wednesday
random
night,
Wednesday.
as you do. Yeah, I was just drinking like rum and like pineapple or coconut rum and pineapple juice. I drank the
Yep.
whole fucking fifth
Yep.
myself, right? So I helped her put, you know, her kid to bed. And then I was like sat and I thought and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like how the fuck am I gonna be this can never work. Like this will never work. Like this life, like me with her, with a kid, me and kids and drinking. I just started my mind just started putting it all together and was like, you can't fucking live this way.
Mm-mm.
If you want a wife, if you want kids, if you want anything in life, it's gotta stop. I woke up the next day and that was it. I looked at her and I said, I don't think I'm gonna drink anymore. And she said, okay. And I left. I went home, I sat down, and I was like, yeah, that's it. I'm done. I can't, I'll never be happy. I'll never be happy in life if I don't stop. And then I just went, done. Cold
Nice.
turkey, quit. Told everybody, told all my friends, told Miller, told Sam. I was like, listen, guys, quit. I'm not drinking anymore. Don't ask me to drink. It's not a joke. I'm a fucking alcoholic and I need to stop. And luckily, thank God I have the friends I do because they were so cool and they were just like, yeah, man, whatever we can do to support you, whatever you need. And that's huge in those moments, like that moment of saying,
Mhm.
I'm done. Because if you don't have that, it's so easy to just flip that switch and go back the other direction. Because if everybody would have been like, hey, come out, have a drink,
Mhm.
could all went real wrong.
Yeah. Well, support system is huge. I think knowing once you admit that you have a problem, people around you that validate you, that love you, that have been there for a while, be like, yeah, we saw you were getting into some shit, but we didn't want to push. And now that you kind of push yourself and you're like, hi,
Yeah.
I'm an alcoholic addict, I have issues, and here they are. People like embrace you for that reality that you want to make positive changes in your life.
Yeah, it's like admitting it too in front of them, so they're not the ones to say, "Hey, you're a bit fucked up." When you're the one going, "Hey guys, I'm a bit fucked up." They're like, "Yeah, man, we noticed you were a bit
Yeah,
fucked up." You
pretty
know?
much. Yeah, you were
Yeah, they'll
destroying
just agree with
yourself.
you and be like, "Yeah, yeah, you did some questionable stuff."
Yeah.
So, so you say like in your 12 step you have a sponsor and stuff like that. You talk regularly and stuff like that
I talk to
with your
her at least
sponsor?
once a week. Right. I talk to her at least once a week. She's just given me a mission. I don't want to call it a mission, but it's my Lenten um, task or chore, if you will, is to do an inventory of myself every night for the
Okay.
next, because as I said, growing up in the church, I already have my own sacrifices where I'm not drinking Dunkin' and I give up meat on Wednesday and Friday. And, you would think like just not being an alcoholic is good enough, but no, I just, let me go ahead and
Go see
tweak
what
my
else you
boss.
can give up.
How about it?
Yeah,
But
why not?
I'm also smoke free. I haven't smoked a cigarette in like 5 years, so that's
Amazing.
yeah. But no, with the Lenten thing, she's given me like this bit of a task, if you will. So I just kind of we have an app. It's called Everything AA. It's at the very bottom of it, and I'm only telling you this because I haven't done it yet. And if I put it out there, then I'm going to have to be held responsible for it.
Yeah,
So
right. It's on video now that you
yes,
have to do
I
it
have
now.
to do it. So yeah, we've been doing that. She's really helped me through a lot of stuff. Like I said in the beginning, I didn't think I had a problem, so I didn't think I needed a sponsor to be like, here are your defects of character and here's how we can work on them. But genuinely just being able to live a different life is what it comes down to, I think. Putting things in a different perspective than I have before and realizing at the end of the day that things are going to be however they're supposed to. They're just and she tells me to look down, just wherever your feet are planted, look down, and that's where you belong. So just hold your ground. So
Those are very wise words. Yeah, that's
yeah,
good.
yeah, she's awesome.
That's amazing. So, is there anything else you'd like to touch on before we can?
Well, What kind of, I mean, what are you doing in your aspect of recovery? I mean, are you working a program too, or what have you been?
Nah, I've never worked a program. I've just I'm just me. I'm just a weird I'm one of those 1 in a million kinda, like, just
No, that's
quits and never does it
mhm,
again.
right. No, that's cool. I
Uh
mean, I have friends who, because of one reason or another, were in the rooms and then decided that they no longer needed them. As I said, my ex-husband, I can't tell you the last time he went to a meeting, but he'll have 18 years sober in April. Some people can just choose to do it. I feel like
Mhm.
it's part of my life now. It's kind of, it's almost like going to
Yeah.
church on Sunday. It's
Yeah.
part of who I am. It's what I do. I have an amazing support circle. I have a great fellowship, so that helps too.
Yeah,
Um,
that's huge, and I think that's huge for people. Some people, that's just the way they operate, and that's how they can manage everything, and it's good for, for me personally, it just wasn't something that I could do. I went to an AA meeting once, and I walked out of there feeling like I just wanna get fucking wasted,
because all
and it
they
was a
did was talk
horribly
about
bad experience, and I think that may have been because, obviously, 1, I was nowhere near wanting to get sober. There was no
right.
do you know what I mean? Like, it was so not the right place for me to be anyway, because I
Yeah,
wasn't I wasn't in the right headspace,
right.
um, but, I mean, I just never I just quit, and then once I got so many years in, you just think like,
It's so much easier not to drink than it is to even like caress the thought of like throwing that time away.
"Oh, yeah, like, I know I have too much to lose. I have too much
Right.
to lose in life right now. I have
Mhm.
so much great things that I would never you know what I mean? Like, I'd never jeopardize it, not even for 1.
Mhm.
It would
Mhm.
never be worth it. There'd be
Nope.
nothing in this world that would make me want to go back down that road.
Yeah.
There's too much horrible stuff back that way. It's just be
Mhm.
going backwards now. I have too much to move forward to. I think, this is just a better life for me, and,
Yeah.
I just wanna live the best life that I have to live possible and to be able to do things I never thought I could do or push myself to be in places that I never thought I could be, you
Right.
know? It's
Right.
huge to just feel like, that weight, that all that shit that I went through it was all
Yeah.
worth something because I'm here now. I'm where I'm
Yeah.
supposed to be.
Mhm,
I just had to
exactly.
go through a lot of shit to be here,
Yeah. I love
you
that. I
know?
love your journey, but I love your journey. And now knowing that you just did it through pure willpower, but you've always kind of been like balls to the wall, like even in your MMA days and all that, like you've just
Yeah,
always given
absolutely.
110. So I would
Yeah, I
question,
was just mental. That's just
yeah. I think for me, it's the social side too. I like being able to sit and hear other people's experience, strength, and hope and what they're going through and kind of get where they're how they cope with different things. Sometimes it's
yeah,
just the hour to keep me away from a drink. If I'm having a really rough day and
yeah.
I just cannot, then I'll do it and I'll step into a meeting. A lot of time with school and work now, it's difficult, but I feel like I have a belly full of the program and doing things like this, like being able to share my story, this is
Yeah.
actually what we would call a fifth step, where you admit to God, to yourself, and to another person the nature of your wrongs. So we get to talk about that. I have to throw a cliche phrase at you, though. I don't know if I can lift my sleeve enough. It's probably going to be backwards. Hold on. Can we get it in there? Can you see it?
Ah, this too shall pass. Yes.
Yes, right? So whether it's
Yeah.
like a kidney, I got that done on November 11th of 22 to celebrate my 2-year anniversary because
Amazing. Yeah.
whether it's like a kidney stone or a gentle wave, whether it's the most amazing thing in the world or stuff that's destroying you, it all just fades away into the balance. It's just,
Yep.
it's, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
man. Those words are huge. Yeah, this too shall
Mhm.
pass. You hear that a lot in recovery talk is this too shall pass. And it usually does. It does, but these things pass. I
Mhm.
have a on my knuckle, on my thumb knuckle, I have a it's a 10
The
for
10,
my 10
right?
year.
For your anniversary. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember
Yeah,
seeing that.
I have my Roman numeral
Love
X on
it.
my hand there.
Love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I'm so
I have a
excited. I
couple
got to
sobriety tattoos actually. I have a phoenix on my stomach. It
Okay.
says, "The new version of old me,"
Okay.
which is it's actually a line from a Big Sean song where he's like he says, it's the new version of old me," which I thought was I don't know why in my head, I just thought, like, me being sober is, like, the new
No, it
version
makes
of the
sense.
old
It
person I
totally
was, and I thought it was in my
no,
mind, it was just so
no, I say
perfect.
that I'm Eva 4.0. Like I've
Yeah,
stepped up from from where I was before. Like this is the upgrade. This is the best version of me. This is the me who is self-aware and who is resilient and who is like I think I've always been fearless and fierce in a way, but it's more aggressive and bitchy as opposed to like just being what's driven. You know what I mean? Like it's a
yeah,
different I feel like I have a different force now. It's a little
yeah.
more I mean I'm still, I have my off the wall moments. I'm still, the anxiety and depression are still a thing, but we have maintained those and so yeah, it's
Better
good.
coping tools, better coping skills. That you
All
have
of
so
it.
many more tools in your tool. You know how they talk about recoveries. You have a toolbox. So you have all them tools in
Yeah.
your toolbox now that you can use. You know what I mean? Like you said, you have a great support group, and that's huge when you're going through shit like that. Is that you can lean on these people. You know, I'm
Yeah.
lucky that I have a great family and good friends that they're my support network. Those are the people that I turn to when shit's getting rough. I have
Yeah.
people that I talk to every day um, about things that are going on in my life or work or relationships, or
Yeah.
whatever, and those people are my rocks. They're the people that keep me grounded. They're my, you know, keeping my feet planted on the ground. They keep me in the great,
Mhm.
in it, they help me get to better headspaces, because sometimes
Yeah.
it's tough. Sometimes you get sucked down into this shit and it's hard to get out and you have to
Mhm.
rely on those support groups because
Yeah.
the way you used to cope with it and the way I used to cope with it is not the way to
Not
fucking cope
healthy.
with it.
No, not
Not at
healthy.
all.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm really fortunate. My roommate, I actually have a roommate and she's in recovery as well. So
Oh,
like
wonderful.
we hold each other accountable and I don't have quite as many rough days, but if I'm having a day where I'm like, oh, aim, I feel I just want to numb it, to be like, no, what's going on? And we talk through it. And I feel like being able to be open and honest. And I think the other thing too that we don't realize, and that we didn't even talk about the stigma of it, we just cut it short, but mental illness and addiction. People
Yeah.
don't realize how anxiety and
Mhm.
depression can drive you into the depths of your alcoholism.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, mine was fueled by depression,
Mhm.
anxiety, all of
Mhm.
that. It was all part of the driving force that was behind it. A deep
Yeah.
depression that was
Mhm.
followed by severe binge drinking and alcoholism and bad behaviors and things like that were all fueled by being depressed, being
Mhm.
upset, being not able to process the things that have happened in life
Right.
and just using to fix it or to numb it.
Right. I think the way that I look at things now is not why is this happening to me? Woe is me. It's more what can I learn from this? And why is this being presented to me in this way now? How am I supposed to grow from this particular experience?
Yeah, and that's the positive. That's the positive outlook on it. I used to be the same with shit. Why is this happening to me? What the
Mhm.
fuck did I do to deserve this?
Right.
When the majority of the stuff was caused by me anyway. It was just
Yeah.
the repercussions for my actions and the things that I had done,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't talk about stigma, but we should. I mean, stigma is a huge thing in recovery. And when people
Yeah.
look at, and also too, is that, people don't see. So people have an image of what alcoholism is, and the
Hmm.
image is what they've seen on television or, it's just some bullshit where it's like the guy who's got the paper bag and he sits on the corner.
Yeah.
And that's not it. That's
No,
not
there's
that's not what I was, and that's probably not what
mm,
you were.
mm.
So it's like, how has that become the general stereotype? How is that is the stigma? That is the person that people are like, yeah, but you weren't like that. Yeah,
Yeah. because
It's
you figure that's
different. Like,
right. You figure that's the lowest of the low. Stereotypically, someone who is, is homeless, who has to get their very last fix, who, is scraping for change. You don't look at the everyday people who are getting through their lives somewhat functioning as having
yeah, like,
problems. If you
yeah,
have a roof over your head and you have that drink behind closed doors, or, plethora of, people may not know that. If
yeah. They
you're
don't
hiding
see
it
it that
well,
way.
exactly. Um, I think the thing that gets me is, people say that it's a choice. And for
Oh
me,
yeah,
when I first got sober, I thought almost the same thing about hard drugs, because by the grace of God, I have not been, driven to anything hard. But
yeah,
even still, like, I always had that, well, I didn't do this or I didn't do that. So, or I haven't been to rehab. So I haven't, got to that point where it was so bad, or I didn't do this favor or that favor to get this fix or that fix. I compared myself. So rather than relate to someone, like, in the very beginning, I was always comparing. And then I'm like, wait a minute, you're doing the same shit. It's just in a different context.
yeah. It's all the
Mhm.
same. We're all painted with the same brush.
Yes.
People just deal with it differently. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
my drinking isn't the same as somebody else's drinking, but it could be the root causes could all be the same, or the triggers
Yeah.
could all be the same, or the reasoning behind it could all be the same. But they could just drink every single day, and I was just binge drinking and blacking out, and like, you know, I couldn't moderate myself. I couldn't just stop. I couldn't just
Mhm.
have a couple, and then other people drink every single day of the week, every single day. But it could
Yeah.
only maybe they only drink like 6 or 7, but they drink every single day of the week.
Mhm.
That's an alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic. You're an
Yeah.
alcoholic. It is what it is. A spade is a spade, no matter
Right.
what, you know? It's just how people, they don't look at it that way, and also they think like, "Well, you chose to drink, didn't you? You chose to do that." Yeah, I might have started it might have started as a choice, right? Yeah, I did. I chose to drink. I chose to drink because I fucking was so upset about losing my best friend. Yeah,
Yeah.
I fucking chose to drink, but I didn't choose to throw my entire fucking life away because of it.
Right.
But
And live
bad
in
shit
misery.
happened and it got out of
Mhm.
control. There's not always like a clear people don't understand it because they don't live it,
Mhm.
you know? If you can't walk a
No.
mile in my shoes, don't
Yeah.
tell me it was a choice. Like you make choices as well. Probably they probably aren't the best, but I don't say,
Right.
"Well, it was a fucking choice, wasn't it?"
Well, no one is
So,
telling a diabetic to stay away from their sugar.
yeah.
And, people with lung cancer, if they're, you know what I'm getting at. There are certain
Well,
things
it's a
that people.
disease, and then a lot of people don't think it's a disease. They're like, "Oh, yeah, but it's medically classified, people. You
Yes.
Google it,
There's
you can find it.
scientific, yes,
It's
absolutely.
medically diagnosed. Addiction is a disease. It is absolutely you chemically alter your brain when you
Mhm.
abuse a substance for a long period of time. It's
Yeah.
scientific fact. It's not made up. It's not
Mm-mm.
on Wiki. Nobody wrote it on Wikipedia. It is
Right.
real science. They've
Yeah.
tested it. You know, it's
Yeah.
real. And
Yeah.
when people say it's a choice, that upsets people because I know people with addiction problems know that it's not that's not necessarily the case. I
It's
can
not
never
that
moderate. I
easy.
just never saw my life with I never
Mm.
saw what I was doing with I don't moderate. I can't moderate anything. I
No.
struggle to moderate normal shit, healthy shit.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
go to the gym too much. I would run too much. I eat too much food, right? I
Yeah,
I
get
don't
it.
moderate. I
I'm
really
still addicted
struggle to
to
do it.
caffeine. Yeah, I have a
Yeah.
caffeine addiction, and the school stuff, I feel like there are days where you overwhelm yourself with just life, and
Sensory overloads.
exactly. And before I would run to numb that, and now it's like, okay, well, let me just process it. Because what else is there? What's the alternative?
Yeah, it's you gotta
There
figure out how
isn't.
to cope with it and deal with it, and
Mhm.
what are the ways you can cope with it. Like, for me, I do a lot of running and going to the gym and things like that. Spending time
Yeah.
with my family helps me deal with this, but if I am really, like, keyed up and anxious, yeah, I have to go out and, like, go for a run, and because it releases all the positive endorphins in my
Mhm.
mind, in my brain, and then I can kind of
Yeah.
process through stuff better if I'm dealing with things that are giving me a bit of aggro, or I'm
Yeah.
dealing with some stuff personally.
Yeah.
I like
A
to do
lot of
that because it helps me clear my head.
Mhm. I think for me, finding a center, finding a balance, like a lot of times it'll be the serenity prayer where I have to pick it apart. But even
Yeah,
if it's just like, grant me in this moment with, just screw the rest of the world. It's just me. I need to, accept everything that I can't change right now because, it's not up to me to try to change the world, but I
yeah,
think I can. And then realizing that I'm only strong enough to do so much, but in the same token
yeah,
I'm strong enough to stay sober, and if that's all I do today, then that's one more feat that I didn't know I could accomplish a couple of years ago. Because if you would have asked me if I would ever stop drinking, I would say that you're fucking crazy. Like, what reason? Why should I stop drinking? What was the problem? I only, I don't do it all the time, or I'm only doing it on the weekends, or all the excuses you make to validate your habits.
yep.
And now, like, no, you are sloppy and stupid, and it is not healthy. And like, no, I just make better choices today. I try to.
And that's what it's about. It's making those better choices every single day, isn't it?
Mhm.
And I was, like what you're saying with the serenity prayer and like letting go of things. I mean, as humans, we fight to control every aspect of everything in our
Mhm.
lives. And there's, my brother would tell me all the time. He's like, bro, you just sometimes you got to just let go of shit. Like, just let it go,
Mhm.
because you can't. He's like, you have to just let go of the things you can't control. Because I would get worked up over shit that I couldn't control. It's like whatever it was, in life, and I'd get really annoyed by it. But it's true. Some stuff you just have to just let it be and
Mhm.
let go of it, you
Mhm.
know? And it's such a good coping skill to have, because holding on to shit is not good for your soul.
No,
It's not
and
good
it's
for who you are.
exhausting. It's
Yeah.
absolutely exhausting to let the negativity overcome your space. It just feels so
Mm.
much it's lighter. It's just so much lighter, as silly as that may sound.
No,
It's a
it
lot.
doesn't. It does. It's definitely, I feel the same way. I would let go of a lot of shit in my life, and, you know, it feels good to be, you know, free of
Happy,
that.
joyous, and free, right?
Yeah,
That's what we say.
absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Wow. You know what, Eva? This
You
has
have to
been so
forgive me
great.
while I'm you have to forgive me while I'm caffeinating in the afternoon
No,
because I
it's
gotta do some
absolutely
work,
fine.
and I'm sure
This has
you're on
been
your
really
way
great.
there.
I've been really enjoyed this. It's been lovely
It
catching
was
up
my
with you, seeing how
pleasure.
you're doing. Is there
Yeah.
anything else you want to talk about? Anything else going on in your life? Positive. Let's talk
No,
about some positive. What are some positive things you have going right now? I know
so
you
I
said you're
said,
going to be finishing
yeah, I
school,
told
the
you about the
job.
new right. So, like I said about the new job, so we're waiting on that. I told you about my roommate. She's lovely. I love that word. You said lovely. It's so British. She's lovely.
Lovely.
What else? I don't know. I still have my dog. Oh, my shoulder. I broke my shoulder early December, and I went through that without any drugs. So there's a positive part. I did
No
not
pain
take
medication, nothing.
no pain medication with the
Wow.
broken fucking shoulder. I told the doctor, I'm like, so I'm in recovery. She's like, okay, so we'll give you naproxen. And I'm like, great, awesome. So yeah, there's that. We went through that sober, went through a breakup sober. Um, they say not
And
to
see,
get
these are all
into
tough things to go through sober. Like, these are all
right.
like triggers in your life. These are things that can give you some problems. So
Yeah.
bravo to you for getting through them,
Yeah.
because
Thanks. So
that's amazing. Because
this is exciting because you and I have come a long ways.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Long
I mean,
ways.
there was a moment in time when I didn't want to be in the same room as you,
I remember. I didn't want to
because
put that out there, but yeah, we couldn't stand each other
we
at
did
one
we
point
no we
in our
had some
life.
beef, but I was in my shit.
Yeah, me
I
too.
wasn't in a good space, so
Mhm.
you know, and I said to my wife today, I said, I'm doing my podcast, and I'm talking to a friend I used to, we used to hang out, friends with Miller and all that, and we used to all kind of get together all the time. I said, "We ran into her at Walmart before we moved back to when we moved back to the UK. And remember, we met. I think we ran into each other at
Yeah,
Walmart in St. Clair,
yeah.
and you were
Mhm.
like, "Hey, I just wanted to say, sorry. Like, we had our moment where we
Yeah,
buried it all, and
I
it all
remember.
we let it go. We let it all go.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Which
awesome.
which is good because there was no reason for it to be ever what it
Mhm.
was, and no reason to hold on to it now. And I'm super proud. Like, every time I see you post something about your sobriety, I'm always there cheering you on,
Aw,
giving
thank
you
you, and
likes
you
and share,
too.
you know.
Yeah, thank you, and I'm super excited about your wife is gorgeous, your children are just adorable as all hell, like, I love it. I can't imagine their accents, like, just hearing the little pinch of you like, the UK and the scoop that you have going on, like, I can't imagine how perfect they are. Come here.
Yeah, yeah. My boy is he's great. He's lovely. I mean, he's a really great kid, and he's really really good kid. So I'm
Yeah,
very
that's
very very
awesome.
lucky to have two little boys as good as they are, and a
Yeah.
a super supportive wife who's bent over backwards and done tons for our family. So I'm
Yeah,
very
that's
lucky in that
amazing.
sense.
I'm so excited for you. Well, thank you for bringing me in. I feel honored to be part of your experience.
Oh, well, thank you. You were actually my first interview and my first guest on the podcast. So, Eva,
Yeah,
thank you so much for being part of this. You're the number one, numero uno.
I
So,
love it.
yeah, you're the first one. So, thank you for that. I thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for taking the time out to just sit down with me and have this conversation. I hope it was as beneficial to you as it was for me, and
Yeah,
hopefully for all the people that watch the video. And feel free to share it on your page, and we'll try to get it out there and get some views and get some people
absolutely.
engaged.
Yay.
All
Thank you
right.
so much. Tell your wife and the family that I said hello. Although they don't know me, that's fine. You can say the crazy chick from Schuylkill, Kentucky says hello.
Don't you worry, I will, and I'm sure they'll be happy about it. All right.
Take
You
care,
take
Jim.
care of
It's so good
yourself,
to see
Eva,
you.
and listen. You ever need me, you shoot me a message. I'm always here. All right.
Same here. All right. Take care, Jim.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.